Hello guys, welcome back to Pulled from the Shelf. I, as always, am your host, Mike Behrman. With me is the waifu trasher, the right-handed doom, my buddy Will.
Hello.
Welcome back, Will. Good to see you, man. Doing well?
Yeah, yes.
You have a good weekend?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, good to see you. Back again is the inauspicious guy in the corner, Nick. How are you, Nick?
Okay.
Yeah, good to have you back, man. Good to see you. Excited for this one. Joining us this week is our buddy and comic book regular at the store, Sean. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you for having me.
No worries, dude. I know you've been pumped up to do this, and so have I, because this is a fun one. This week we're going to get into it in a little bit, and we're going to talk about best and worst comic book adaptations. And we're talking about, and I think right away to clarify, so we are all on the same page. We are talking about movie adaptations, right? We went with live action adaptations, correct?
Oh,
Unless it was a scenario like Big Hero where it was like a Pixar taking the rights from Marvel to make a movie from it. And it went to the theater. Like not like DC straight to DVD, like Batman Gaslight.
Okay. Like we could, because that was part of the problem, is that I was like, otherwise I feel like DC is going to get a really easy time here, because the adaptation job of like their animated films, like their Batman
We can do an animated one next time.
are super clutch. Nick, you look like I just shat all over what you had.
my number one favorite animated movie.
No, it's okay. Then we'll hear you out, right?
His I think would do good.
Yeah, I'm kind of more particularly leaning towards like let's X out like basically all of the anime adaptations and all of the DC adaptations. No, because I feel like the anime is so close to the manga. Same with the DC, like the Batman movies, right? Like it's so, because it's animated, it's so easy to, you know what I mean? I feel like that's just cheating, right? Like you can literally take it. Like I said, we'll let Nick have his piece, because I feel like if he's got something that's like anime at the top of the list, then he's got it there for a reason. So I'm sure he'll shit all over whatever I just said as I preemptively shat all over what he's gonna say. But
Jordan does say hi to everyone. He wasn't sure if he could make it today because of life stuff, but he was pumped up to do it.
Jordan is a dirty scrub. No, I'm just kidding. He's a good guy, and we'll have him back next time, especially if we're talking about movies, because I know he's into it. But most importantly, they had to be feature film releases, like to theater, right? Like that was like the big criteria. Yep. So no straight to TV stuff, so we're not counting a bunch of the cheesy, like early Marvel stuff that was like straight to TV, because that stuff is pretty rough. That would be like a pretty fast list to fill. I think.
Seagal.
Yeah, no Seagal. We're basically saying he's right off. Like, let's not waste any time.
That was right out of the question.
We basically got to get rid of like all the unmade TV pilots that like got made, never got aired. You know what I mean? Like all the the big comic gold rush of the 2010s here.
Yep.
Like all the Miller books in the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
Basically Mark Miller's
Rip
career.
Huck.
Yeah, Rip Huck. The TV rights sold, guys.
That's so good. I was so excited.
Yeah, but they're never going to make it, right? That's my problem. So that's why we're not counting it, right? Like, it's never going to get released. So, you know what I mean? It's not really a thing. I had a bit of a weird time looking at movies for this list, personally, because there's a lot of, Sean touched on this just before we started, there's a lot of bad ones that I think are just like unanimously bad movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I had the opposite. I found it really hard to find bad ones because I really liked a lot of them. And it took me the quickest to find the ones I really liked.
Well, Will has bad taste.
That's fair. No one's denying
It's just admitted on the record on this day of August 9th. The other one that I found is that there wasn't a lot of Marvel movies making either one of my lists too much. I found them like very middle of the road.
I found that too.
Yeah, which is maybe to say I think that's like a bit of a. It's very Disney-esque to play it safe. You know?
Yeah.
They make bank though, and like when they be good, But you know what I mean?
They're really excellent.
Yeah, I think that's the big problem that I've had. Like, I think like my favorite Marvel character, like the best Marvel character movie, I think for me would maybe be Logan, and that's not even a Marvel Studios movie, right? So.
Yeah, I didn't have any make my top 5 either.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, which is kind of a shame because like they are Like, there's lots of really enjoyable ones. Like, I really enjoy, like, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 are awesome. Like, put Kurt Russell in a movie, I'm there. Right?
I say, actually, I had Marvel at number 2 on my list. Like, the
Oh, yeah?
universe. Marvel Universe as number 2.
I'll see, but that's kind of cheating because you got to pick
Yeah,
a
you
movie,
gotta pick a
right?
movie.
Because they're not all equal adaptations.
But they're all
you know?
connected.
There's like 23 of them.
Yeah, that's true, but they're not all equal. For instance, I would much rather watch Avengers than Thor: Dark World.
I liked Thor Dark World.
I would rather get poked in the face with like a rusty spike than watch Thor: Dark World.
I guess
most days.
the only one I did split away from the group was Captain Marvel.
Yeah, was Captain Marvel in your tops or in your bottoms?
The worst.
Oh, that was one of your worst ones.
Yeah, my number 5.
Ooh, okay, that's a nice one. So that was kind of my experience, like digging into it. Was that there was a lot of stuff that I was just like, I feel like this is like lots of them were like mediocre, and lots of them were like, well, this is an obvious like shot in the dark, right? Like, hey, what's a good comic adaptation? The Dark Knight, slam dunk, right? Like,
Yeah.
What did you think, Will?
Yeah, that was about it.
No, like, what was your experience still looking into this?
I just remembered a lot of movies that I liked back in the day, and then it was just like, they said like Blade was bad, and I'm just like, come on, man. How do you say Blade is bad? Or they're like, Judge Dredd, the original. I'm like, okay, it's a little bit off, but I liked it. It's no Carl Urban.
Like the
Judge
Stallone
Dredd.
one?
Yeah.
I don't think the Stallone one would make like a top 5 worst, but I don't think it would be on like my list of like
It's
not
very-
good adaptations.
It's very English Judge Dredd.
I think it's like Sean's favorite Judge Dredd for sure, right, Sean?
No, I quite like the Carl Urban one.
I know. I can
Yeah,
just
the
see
Carl
you
Urban
making
one
faces
was
over
more
here,
American
disgusted.
Judge
Will.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off. What?
So the Stallone Judge Dredd was more like the European version of Judge Dredd, and the Urban one was the American version.
Well, I felt like it was more of a Sylvester Stallone movie than it was a Judge Dredd.
Yeah, that too.
That was kind of the problem.
Yes.
But like the
So
mutants and
actually,
all that.
I would argue that potentially like Judge Dredd is like a poor comic adaptation because it's not close to the movie. Like you get to see his face.
Yeah.
The whole time almost.
Yeah.
There's one
He
scene
basically
in the
never
comic
wears the
that
helmet.
he does take off the helmet in the comic, but it's a giant sensor bar over his eyes, and when the guy starts like, instead of like him getting shot, he uses it as a tool to disrupt the criminals. So he takes off his helmet, it's just a big black bar, and they all start puking.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Nick, you were about to tear into him.
I was just going to say that having read a couple of the case files, that the Judge Dredd, the Stallone movie, it wasn't satire so much as like just being dumb.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't smart, and like the case files have some sort of intelligence to satire,
Yeah.
whereas it was Stallone, and like I would
Yeah.
never accuse him of being like an intellectual movie by him.
It wasn't like a great era for him either. You know?
No.
Like this is like was it like right after Demolition Man?
It was like 95, yeah. So
Yeah.
it would have been like Stop Where My Mom Will Shoot era.
Yeah, and I love Demolition Man like because it's bad, not because it's good. You know what I mean?
Shut your
Like,
mouth.
and also because Wesley Snipes would be legit. Man.
Wesley
Yeah.
Snipes and Sandra Bullock is a national treasure.
I feel like they just gave Wesley Snipes like the Nick Cage treatment. They just gave him they just fucking fed him cocaine for like 4 or 5
Shoved him in a
hours,
bag.
and then threw him out onto the set. And I was like, "All right, you're a terrorist." And he's like, "Yeah, man. Where are we in the future? Fucking, yeah, right on." And he just there it is.
Laser guns.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes, man. That's how he lived his life back then. I choose to believe that. It's a fun version of Wesley Snipes as opposed to like the probably sad on house arrest version of Wesley Snipes.
I do love Shake a Baby Nick Cage, where you just throw him into a sack of potatoes, shake him up, and let him go.
Yeah, I feel like that dude is probably like the type of crazy person to be like, just kidnap me for the role and take me to set. Don't tell me when.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like 17 movies a year now.
Yeah, and they just like
direct to Netflix.
he's like the Adam Sandler of dramas.
Of action.
Yeah. What an actual scoop. So Dredd was like that was a weird point of contention for you, eh?
Yep.
But that was a positive. Yeah, I like it's a fun flick. Like I'll give you that, right? It's hard to argue like the merit of some of those cheesy action flicks, but I think it was on like the downslope of like the late 80s action swing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's no Running Man. Or even like Last Action Hero, another early 90s cheesy action flick. I'd much rather watch that.
Yeah.
Nick, what did you find out while you were going through all this stuff? Anything cool? Anything surprising?
That it would be boring if we all just chose superhero movies. So I purposely avoided almost all of them, besides one. And even that is barely a superhero movie.
Oh, yeah. Very good. I'm excited. Yeah, there was a lot of, like, not superhero movies. A lot more than I thought. Stuff that I forgot, though, was, like, adaptations, too, right? Like Old Boy.
Yeah.
Old Boy
mega
was
adaptation. Yeah.
Yes.
I had no idea. That movie's fantastic.
Yeah, I love that movie. That's one of my favorite movies.
I think I knew that, actually.
Yeah. I had a hard time cutting that out of my top 5. A really hard time.
Yeah, that's a tough one. There was some other, like, stuff, too, that was, like, kind of randomly out, like, early in the 2000s, like, before the real rush came in, like, with Marvel. Like, Will and I looked into it the other day, and it was, like, 30 Days a Night was a comic first.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Yeah.
100%.
You know, I forgot about that, but that's a really
The
good
one
one,
that-
too.
That's a good movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
I
That's
love
like
that
one of my
movie.
more favorite vampire
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
flicks.
The one that got me was Edge of Tomorrow. I knew it was a book
Yeah.
first, called
Yeah.
like Kill, Live, Repeat, but it was actually a comic too. I believe it was a book and a comic.
Yeah.
I think it's called All You Need Is Kill.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, is the original.
Yeah.
But it was
original.
personally one of my more favorite, like, the actor's name slips my mind.
Tom
Cruise. More favorite Tom Cruise movies.
What was a surprising one, at least?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like a huge Emily Blunt fan either, and like I'm not a big fan of either of them, and they really pulled that one together. I think I watched that one like at home on the couch too.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, let's look at this trash, and it ended up, being like pretty darn respectable.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot.
Yeah, right. Like weirdly, like pretty solid. What about you, Sean? What was fascinating you digging into the trash realm of?
The trash was harder because it's like we could all talk about that Catwoman Halle Berry movie for a long time, but it was more like stuff that I actually had expectations for that really disappointed me. Those were the ones that I sort of added to my list, not ones like Judge Dredd that were like obviously bad, but like ones that should have been good and then weren't.
That's like Sean clearly just like voting with his heart. You know what I mean? He's still holding a grudge after all these years.
Oh, I had
I went to this movie on a date and it ended poorly.
not even the movie was heart wrenching. It was the fact that the date never went home with them.
Harsh. Right off the opening bat.
I had that with Supergirl and Red Sonja on my list for bad movies. The hype was there.
Did they make a Supergirl movie?
Yeah,
They did.
it wasn't
Yeah.
worth it.
It had like Faye Dunaway in it, and Helen
It
Slater
was
played.
kind of creepy
Really, Faye
and
Dunaway.
really
I like
stupid
Faye
She was
character.
the villain.
God
Not when I was a kid, but I haven't seen it in
The person,
30
the
years.
characters were dumb. It was very creepy at the beginning with the other characters' interactions with each other, and it was again one of those cheesy, like early Superman era sort of movies.
Like that Christopher Reeve era stuff.
Yeah.
I don't mind like the Christopher Reeve stuff. Well, let's start getting into stuff that like didn't really make our lists that I think is like important enough to talk about, because the early Superman stuff definitely like fit that bill for me, because there's some stuff that I think like swayed dangerously close, a la like Superman 3, which is like kind of atrocious.
Yes.
But like Superman 2, I still legit enjoy that movie. I think that's like actually holds up pretty damn well.
Is that the one with the Zod?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
with Zod. Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrence Stamp is Zod, right?
Yeah, he was.
Oh man, he's got an awesome voice too. Like, so he just like crushes that one out. Oh, just go get some English Shakespearean dude to be your villain. He's gonna sound awesome, right? Like,
Flash. I wish Flash Gordon. I don't know. Is Flash Gordon a comic that was a?
It was a pulp magazine, I think.
yeah. So I'm not sure if that counts.
But that would be awesome.
That
That's
would be sweet.
Definitely worth mentioning.
Flash.
It's like the theme song of our store.
Who doesn't love that? There was also like some weird ones for me, like say, like all of like the random Terrible Crow sequels and like the Silver Surfer reboot, which kind of just like didn't really register like as a movie release in my head. You know what I mean?
The Crow was awesome.
Which one?
The Crow was awesome.
Yeah.
The
No,
original.
the Crow is
Yeah,
really good.
That's
The
on
original
my-
one's super
It's
good.
on my best list.
Yeah.
That's all my mentions.
There was like some other ones too that like kind of slipped past me a little bit, like the first Hulk movie. I always forget about. You know what I mean? The Ang Lee one, because it's so
Yeah.
weird.
They went super comic-y with it.
I actually like that movie.
No, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it's so out there on its
It
own.
is,
right?
yeah.
Compared to
You
like
know?
Yeah.
Immortal Hulk, like the second part of it, where it's
Yeah.
more serious with when they got the more serious Marvel Universe stuff.
No, exactly.
Oh, the Ed Norton one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the one that like is a little bit
Incredible
more
Hulk.
part of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Immortal Hulk is a good comic. Incredible
Yeah.
Hulk is the movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
man,
Yes.
that comic's so good.
Yeah, I kind of like the that 2000. What is it? 2006 Hulk? No, when was that one out? The Ang Lee one. It was a little more
It's like
introspective,
2002
right?
Or something
Yeah.
like
Less
that, I think.
actiony, a little more introspective. Yeah.
With actual panels in it, which is
With
weird.
Yeah.
the panels, yeah.
But that scene where the guy like explodes from the foam and then it just like goes to gray with like the skull
Mm.
on the comic page and then it flips to where he's in the tube.
Yeah.
That was pretty
I haven't
interesting.
seen it in a long time. I wonder how that.
It's hilarious. It was on
Ages.
Netflix a few months ago.
Man, I should check that one out again, actually, because it's been a hot minute. I
He's
haven't watched
so
that for a
brightly
while.
green on the screen.
Yeah,
and he gets taller every time too, right? Like he's probably 20 feet tall by the end of
Yeah.
that movie.
That's amazing. That sounds sweet. He just like keeps getting bigger.
He just keeps getting bigger. Yeah.
I remember them releasing like a PlayStation 2 game or something of that
Oh,
time.
it was awful.
And that being like really, really bad. It
Because you
was,
played
like,
as
big
Bruce
news.
Banner the whole time. You were just trying to break into facilities and
You
never let you
basically
be
didn't
Hulk.
get to be Hulk. There was like, because the demo you were Hulk.
Yes.
And
yeah.
then you like so rarely got to be Hulk during
Yeah.
the game. And it was like one of the biggest letdowns of the time. I just remember that growing up and being like, wow, F these guys.
I played the crap out of the Iron Man 2 game for the PSP.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Was it any good?
It was
Because Iron
like
Man 2,
a-
the movie, was like...
It was a fun pass.
Yeah,
like,
that's a worst
pretty
list
medium.
one.
yeah, it was like a good one to like pass the time with.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into it. Who's got... let's do worst stuff first. We're talking about stuff that sucks. What did you have for stuff that sucks there? Let's go, Nick.
Didn't think of many because I was more focused on the best.
Yeah, that's okay.
Just off the top of my head, my first real introduction to DC outside of Batman was Green Lantern, the movie. So I was kind of turned off for DC for quite a long time.
Ching!
And like that movie was just the CGI in it and everything about it was just kind of awful. Like not terrible, but just not good. Like aggressively mediocre and not good.
As like a huge Green Lantern fan, there's like two really big steps that they took in that movie that like were really, really bad. And like one was like, let's make the bad guy a cloud.
Yeah, then they get the guy who did the cloud for that Silver Surfer movie and then bring him over and say, like, just add some yellow
Yeah.
and make him parallax.
Yeah.
Because that like made everybody so pissed off in the Silver Surfer movie. Let's
Yes,
just copy
yeah.
that because that won't make
I
everyone
wish
pissed
they did
off again.
Sinestro.
I actually thought they did Sinestro pretty good in that one. Even Kilowog I thought was pretty
Yeah.
cool in that.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
a huge Kilowog fan. He's one of the coolest lanterns.
Yeah.
One of the weirder ones was just like poor acting. Like Blake Lively is not, in my opinion, a great actress. She's had some good stuff lately. She did that flick with like Anna Kendrick that was like weirdly.
Yeah, she was good in
Murdery
The
and-
Shallows.
Yeah, she was good in The Shallows. That was a good one too. So like she's gotten her child. Like clearly it's like 10, 15 years later, right? But like man, back then, like oh god, like, and everybody loves Ryan Reynolds, but like that was a bit of a stinker of a
There's a
performance.
reason why
He
he
always
jokes
just
about
plays
it.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? He's going to just be himself anyways.
Yeah.
It's kind of the Bill Murray thing, right? And some people, like, aren't Bill Murray.
He's the Nolan North. He's the Nolan North of acting.
Who the hell's Nolan North?
He's a voice actor.
He's like
He
the
does,
biggest voice actor in history.
Oh.
He does like Drake from Uncharted. And
Oh,
He's like the
okay.
he's like the male.
Sorry, when you said biggest voice actor in history, I could have sworn you said Mark Hamill or Kevin Conroy.
He's up there.
That was just...
Like-
maybe you sneezed in the middle of that,
Oh.
and it was an accident.
He's like the male Tara Strong.
Okay, yes. Believe it or not, you've told me who that is before. That's
Yes.
Fem Shep, correct?
Yeah.
See.
And everything else in cartoon history from 2000s and up.
For the record, everybody, that's like the first time out of like 1,000 times I've remembered something Will told me. I'm batting like 1% over here, crushing it.
Nice.
So what else did you have going on? Because I think like Green Lantern, everybody like really didn't like, and I think there was a lot of things that like could have been good about that movie, but just like some poor casting, especially like among your main characters, you really forced that like love story angle to so bad, and like let's do Hector Hammond and Parallax and like do neither very well, special effect wise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
In terms of disappointments, there was the Thor movies.
Yeah.
yeah, I like the first Thor movie a lot, and I don't like Ragnarok at all.
I felt the first one was too quick and too confined to one spot on the planet, whereas number 2 and 3 was more larger.
I thought that, so for anybody who frequents the store and like talks about comic movies will eventually hear me say that the Thor franchise is the worst Marvel franchise in my opinion. It's not very good as far as like their big trilogies go. Number one, here's the lightning round Thor breakdown.
Sure.
Thor 1, big problem. Opening sequence, Asgard, Anthony frickin' Hopkins, all the coolness, fighting frost giants, going to Jotunheim, lightning, sweet stuff, boom. Chris Hemsworth and frickin' Natalie Portman for like an hour and 10 minutes. Then we get like 30 seconds of Thor movies over credits.
Yeah, like in one like city in like
Bro, you don't even get to see him as Thor. He doesn't even win the day as Thor. It's just like cloud. Here we go again with the fucking cloud. You know what I mean? He spins a tornado. And like I dig big chunks of that movie. There's really good things that they did. But in the end, I just feel like, and in theaters, I was like I just felt so cucked. It was like, oh, because I'm sitting there, and there he is. He's about to take out the Destroyer Man. He's Thor again. And this is a classic Thor origin story. I'm so excited for it. And then he's in the cloud, and he beats him up, and then it's over, right? You know what I mean? Like, oh, Destroyer, no problem, right? So for one, like, just Destroyer goes out like a bitch because you beat him up in like 10 seconds. And two, you do it off screen. Like, why even turn into Thor, right? Like, there's no payoff. Like, makes me crazy. And then two, I think it's just like a garbled mess. They have no idea what they want to be. And they just tried too hard to be everything to everybody. Like, let's not talk about like Stellan Skarsgård and Kat Dennings in those movies. I'm not.
It's so disappointed what they did with Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah.
He's such a good actor that just using him as... The first movie he was fine.
Yeah.
And then the second movie they make him kind of a bumbling idiot.
They just shouldn't have brought him back for the second movie. I don't know why he was in there. Am I triggering you, Sean?
No, I'm trying to remember. Is that the one where he's in the nursing home? Is that the second one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they kind of break him out or whatever, or he kind of breaks out and rejoins them.
I'm
And
just
he's
trying
like
to remember
very
that.
forced comedic relief. Him and Kat Dennings are like the two-man crew.
Yeah.
like especially like while like all the like dark elves are like bombing around shooting stuff and the Aether's going crazy. There's like black twisters in the middle of London and they're like quips. It's
Yeah.
That's the problem with all the movies.
Like the
they
second
quips and like they undercut themselves.
Yeah, but there's like, yeah, that's fair. I think some movies do it more than others. You know what I mean? Like the Avengers ones for sure, but
Like some of them do it better, but they still in every movie there's at least like once where they kind of undercut themselves with just a joke too soon.
Yeah, it does happen a lot in that Thor Dark World in the climax of the movie where they're still putting in jokes while that thing's eating the world.
Yeah.
He's on the subway and a girl's like touching his muscles or whatever, right? It's just there was some levity in there when it should have been.
It's like alternately super dark too, right? So it's like such a weird contrast. I think the worst Marvel movies and why personally, so Thor Dark World made my list.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I think it's like the best example of poor Marvel movies because the ones that really work, they know the identity of the movie. And I think it's the development of superhero movie from genre to like an adjective. You know what I mean? Because superhero wasn't ever like enough to be a movie. You know what I mean? Superhero movie was the idea of like Spider-Man and X-Men, the original kind of push. You know what I mean? There wasn't like a great definition on like what that meant. So the movies that like really started to get it right were the ones that realized that like say Chris Nolan doing like, hey, we're doing like hardcore gritty crime drama.
Yeah, that just happens to have Batman and the Joker.
And that's Batman because that's one of the things that like makes Batman good. So we have like an actual take on like, you know what I mean, like what to do aside from just having Batman on screen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, like something like I think the Captain America series is really successful because I think each movie has an identity. The first one is a little cheesier, but the first one is an adventure movie.
And it's a great looking movie too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
it's well shot.
I think it was my
visually,
favorite.
it's one of the
It's
neatest
cheesy,
ones.
but it's like the cheese I think really works. Some of the great like him as the like kind of USO.
Selling the war
buy
bonds.
war stocks. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
I kind of liked that stuff, and I think it got better. You know what I mean? Winter Soldier was like, nope, we're high tension modern spy thriller, and it was like, okay, let's go, right? Because then you have an identity to lean on. Otherwise, that's why Deadpool works well, right? Because it's like, no, we're R-rated, zany humor, and that's what we're doing, right? So it's going to be gory action, dirty jokes. That's our thing. You know what I mean? And I think the bad ones, like say Iron Man 2, Thor 2, like Avengers 2, like some of the weaker ones, they're just like they just get confused, and part of it was them figuring out like the formula, and I think that's part of why they top out, in my opinion, is that like they are a bit of a formula, but the formula is pretty solid now.
Yeah.
Back then, they just didn't know what they were doing, right? Like,
Yeah, I feel like almost like Thor 2 was hamstrung a little bit because it was forced to introduce one of the Infinity Stones, and it was sort of like, you know, they had the Infinity Stone in mind, just write a script around it.
yeah,
And it's sort of, they're beholden then to just tell the story of the ether or whatever it was
I feel like
called.
you could have done better than that.
They could have done better
You know what
for
I mean?
sure,
Like,
but
you give me that. That sounds like a fun writing challenge. Like I could go bang out an idea for you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
yeah, I don't know.
Personally, the absolute like one of the bottom feeder, like as far as if we're gonna stick on like Marvel characters and stuff, the absolute worst one in my opinion of any Marvel character, because it's a goddamn atrocity and it shouldn't exist, is X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I
Yeah.
have that on my list.
Yeah.
It's so bad. I know we're talking about like Catwoman
Yeah.
stuff, but
Yeah.
like, oh my god, it's so bad.
The claws.
Oh yeah, the claws. Everyone has claws. Like,
And no, just the claws on Wolverine himself. The stupid CGI ones, where it's so blatantly obvious. It doesn't look like it's coming out of his hands. It looks like he has like one of those toy ones
yeah,
that kids have.
with a like shing coming
Yeah.
between the like the finger or
Yeah.
whatever, or, like down the length of the
Yeah.
arm.
Yeah.
Oh my god. The fact that like they gave Jackman like big giant cowboy boots, so he's fucking like way taller than Liev Schreiber in all the shots. Like let's just get the classic trope of Wolverine Sabretooth completely backwards. Sabretooth basically a totally different guy who's Agent Zero. Why is William Stryker the only bad guy in the universe? No one will ever know.
And like misusing Liev Schreiber. Like
Oh yeah, Lee Schreiber normally pretty good, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like he can't. So Hugh Jackman figured it out and was a very good Wolverine in lots of movies, in several movies.
And
but
just like
Yeah, man.
shoehorning in every like cameo,
Oh,
just having
God,
Gambit
yeah.
show up and the Blob show up and whoever else,
And-
Deadpool show
and
up.
John Wraith,
Yeah.
freaking let's have Will.i.am in this movie. Why the hell not?
yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the one?
Deadpool, like, yeah, no, like, that's just like can be the end almost. Deadpool, right? Like,
Was that the one where you have like he breaks out and like the kids are running through the forest in the wintertime and then he runs away? Because I know there was somewhere in one of the newer movies they tried to connect the old X-Men movies with the new ones that they're doing.
No, that
where
was
there's like a scene where Logan's like they're rescuing the kids from the X thing and then they break out and then there's Logan with all the machines and stuff staring at him. They don't know.
Oh,
who
that
he
was one of the
is.
later ones.
that was
Yeah.
Apocalypse maybe.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
that's
I
all I
think so.
remember. It's like the Nightcrawler's like, I can't jump to places that I can't see, and then
yeah.
he jumps through the camera.
And he counts to 3 and he's only he's only got 2 fingers.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. That's all I remember is they walk out and there's just a naked like Hugh Jackman just standing there with all this machine on him, just like
Glasses.
screaming at them.
Classic shot.
Yeah.
Like Barry Windsor Smith.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah, that's.
I was just like, oh, I see what you did here. You basically used this movie to connect to the old ones with the new ones.
Yeah, but they've been building to that since
They did
Days
that
of
a few
Future
times,
Past.
yeah. And they also did that with First Class. They
Yeah.
sort of had the cameo of Wolverine at the
Well, that was
bar.
kind of the start of the whole
Yeah.
you know what I mean,
Yeah.
thing going forward.
Yeah.
That was kind of like the start of my bad list. Nick, what did you have? Or you know what? We already asked Nick.
Yeah.
Sean, what did you have on your bad movies list?
Well, I had
like, let's
Thor-
nominate some stuff to put on like the worst of movies.
well,
Because right now I feel like we're leading with like Catwoman and Wolverine.
Well, like I said, I had Thor Ragnarok, and that's just because, to me, that was one where they wrote the jokes before they wrote the script. It was way too light for what it was, and I really didn't appreciate them using Planet Hulk and making it a Thor story either. Because to me, that was something that could have been saved as a Hulk movie.
Yeah, Hulk should have had Planet Hulk
That's
by
a fair
itself.
gripe. I think that like being too light for what it was is almost like a misconception of like expecting like a dark story from a Ragnarok story. You know what I mean?
which you would. I don't know.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be, right?
No,
You know what
I guess it
mean?
doesn't have to be. But it wasn't the tone that I wanted. I sort of wanted something a little more akin to a little like maybe an Endgame or a Infinity War or something like that.
But I think that was part of the problem of like Thor: Dark World, is that they tried to make it so dark and they had like these terrible jokes ham-fisted in it, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, look, if we're going to do jokes, let's just do jokes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know.
There's
it's just
better
one
characters
that
for that than Thor.
Yeah, it's a fair
Like,
call.
Thor can be funny, and that's fine. Like, just Walt Simonson had the Flog Thor, Throg,
Who
and
doesn't like Throg, right?
and like, he's funny at times. Like, it was a fun idea, but it was only a couple of issues. and he comes back every now and again. It's funny, but Thor is not inherently a comedy character.
Well, I think that's why I enjoy him as a comedy character is because, like, one, I think it's a more natural fit for Chris Hemsworth,
Yes.
and two, I think that it's like unexpected for me because that way I can enjoy epic Thor in the comic books doing like crazy stuff, and then I can go out there and enjoy this other world of Thor who's like kind of quirky and it's kind of fun. And the other problem is I really enjoy Taika Waititi. His sense of humor really like tickles me. So there's a couple moments in that movie that just like shred me. You know what I mean? Like,
Some moments in the movie are good.
oh, he's
but
dead.
It's
You know what I mean? Like,
not necessarily it's a good movie, not a good Thor movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
oh, so yeah, that actually might be a
See,
really
I'm
fair
more
point. Like
with
it's a
Nick on
poor
this.
like a bad adaptation, but a good movie.
Yeah.
I like the first Thor movie. I feel like the humor came from like the fish out of waterness of Thor, whereas he had some real like pathos as a hero when he takes up the mantle again, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But then it sort of does away with all of that character building and just makes him kind of like a too light, and like his dad's disappeared. There's no time on that.
Yeah.
None of that stuff, right? His dad kind of just dies, and I don't know.
The Intern was annoying in my opinion, and when I think Thor movie, I think like semi-dark mystical action with a hint of romance. So you were saying like how every sort of Marvel had a feel, like Captain America was action spy movies, right? Like Iron Man was like sci-fi, like mech fighting, Playboy.
But my argument was like the individual movies, not the series. You can't get shackled to a feel for a series. You know what I mean? Because then you're just gonna make the same movie every time.
Well, that's what I mean. Like number 2 was so weird because it was like you guys were saying was ham, like stuff was just being thrown in, Bruce Lee Lin, written. Where number 1 kind of had this is a feeling of number 1, and then number 3 was like this feels more like Guardian, and it was well done for that. So it's like it kind of found itself in number 3. Number 2 was just kind of like a weird like teenager phase, trying to figure out what it was.
It was like the awkward in between of like the two choices because they really could have gone either way. Like they could have gone darker or they could have gone funnier, and they chose funnier instead. That would be like a really cool alternate universe. Like what if Thor 3 was dark instead? You know what I mean?
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. I think I actually might give it to you a bit there, Sean, just based on the fact that it is kind of like a poor Thor adaptation. You know what I mean? Like probably like the best Thor movie, but probably the worst adaptation.
And a disservice to Planet Hulk.
Yeah, well, that's like that's like the biggest gripe I would have with it. You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, I'm always happy to see Hulk in the movies, but like, I just when Hulk get his turn.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
When they had the rights completely.
Let's go, Hulk movie. Yeah, I know that's been the real slut of the whole deal, right? What else do you have, Will?
What I have? Let's see. I'm just gonna list some stuff before we get into it. So
we're into it, man. Just go.
All right. So speed round, starting at 5. Fantastic Four series, Captain Marvel. Number 4, Supergirl, Red Sonja. Number 3, Catwoman, Cowboys vs. Aliens. Number 2, Incredible Hulk, early Superman. Number 1, Batman Forever, and first Judge Dredd.
Oh man, that is spicy. Cowboys vs. Aliens is awful.
It is. I didn't know that was a comic.
I forgot that was
was,
comic
yeah.
first. Yeah, that was a good look up one.
Mediocre Daniel Craig movie.
Oh god, it's just really
Mediocre
not good.
everyone who's
What was
in-
sorry? What was your 2 and 1 again?
Number 2 was Incredible Hulk / early Superman.
Yeah.
And number 1 was Batman Forever and first Judge Dredd.
Okay. Yeah. Batman Forever, not Batman and Robin. Batman Forever
Batman Forever.
with
Val Kilmer.
Yeah, Kilmer and what's his face? Kilmer, Riddler, and Two-Face, right? That's
Yeah.
Batman Forever.
Yeah.
Word. Okay, so why did you pick Batman Forever out of all the old, out of like Forever and Batman and Robin? Because I think everybody agrees like one of them probably deserves an honorable mention here because they're both pretty shitty.
Because we talked about it a while ago on Thursday, and I was like listening to you guys about it, and then I went back and actually did look into it, and it felt like just like Thor. It was just like no, everyone was like, okay, let's all work together and make this movie, but no one was ever talking to each other. So there's some part where the guys are like, we're being super comic booky, and that's why we're all vibrating in colors. Other times it's like we're being our own actual movie, and the acting and all that stuff, and there's weirdness to it, and it felt like it was trying to be a kid movie in some parts, and then like you switched to a whole different tone to another character, and there's just too many like side stories happening in the background. You're just like, no, like the Dark Knights where it just focuses on one villain, and like you just keep that theme. It's like, you want to go comic-y, stay comic-y. You want to go unique and different and just like, this is Batman in the own world, go that. But no, it was just like everybody wrote some sort of fan fiction, threw it into a like a hot pot or whatever it's called, the thing when you bring food.
Yeah, hot pot.
Potluck. There you go.
There you go.
Did like a story writing potluck, and it was like, okay, this is it. This is it. It felt like destiny. Rushed, cut, didn't get what you wanted, and you basically had to badger and whine to get something decent in the future.
Well, I think I totally agree with everything you just said. That movie is absolute trash, and my only argument would be, I think Batman and Robin is even fucking worse somehow.
Yeah, it's worse.
Somehow, it's all the things that you just said,
Yeah.
just a little bit more.
Is that why they didn't put Robin fully into the end of the Dark Knight series? They just hinted at him becoming Robin?
Or like taking over the mantle as Batman, or however you want to interpret
Yeah,
it.
that's what you-
Yeah, I think because they didn't want to have that cheese of it shit hanging around. You know what I mean? I think part of it is that they wanted to do like more characters in the third movie, but Heath Ledger died, right?
Yeah.
Because they wanted to bring back a bunch of people into like a Long Halloween type deal.
Oh,
the
Long
original.
Halloween
That
was
was
so
what we're
good.
gonna do?
That was the original plan, according to Chris Nolan and his brother, I think. Like they've been on the record saying that a couple times.
Love Long Halloween.
Which is where the original like court scene with like the court scene idea with Scarecrow as the judge comes from, or whatever.
Yes.
It was like bringing a bunch of these guys back, and they were gonna bring Harvey back maybe, but then they killed him. Right?
Yeah, was that Dark Victory that had that? The court scene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are definitely, man, that's a good 2-part series. That's a solid one. Honorable mentions for like really bad ones, or well, not even honorable mentions. Things that I just like want to put up there that like should be no-brainers. First of all, Speed Racer. That movie
Yes.
exists.
Oh,
Did
I
you-
like that movie.
You like
actually.
Speed
I
Racer?
do like Speed Racer.
I like it for its cheesiness. Like, I know.
You like Speed Racer?
I really like Speed
I, love,
Racer.
I used to watch the original show.
Man, I can't believe you guys like Speed Racer. That
I
movie,
do.
Nick, back me up here.
I
Speed
haven't
Racer?
watched it.
God damn
Oh,
it!
I
No,
like
I'm just
Speed
gonna get
Racer.
crushed.
No, I enjoy Speed Racer quite a lot, actually.
Oh man, I'm surprised that Will. I get it because Will has terrible taste. We established that at the start. But Sean, I thought that you would like.
Who doesn't
be on
love
my
car
side
foo
here.
and wacky raceland mixed together?
Oh,
It's
God,
been a long
it's-
time since I've seen it, but I fondly recall watching that movie in the IMAX, actually, and coming out and being like, I really like
To
that.
quote one of my favorite comics, it's like the acid-filled fever dream of a gay Kryptonian in Tokyo. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Like
It is.
it's so neon and
It's-
insane. It's so
I like how
so
unique
all
it is
over the
visually,
place.
though, right?
Oh, you
Yeah.
guys.
It's got like
do.
that Spy Kids sort of feel
Not
to
even,
it.
it's got
The other one on my list that I had to bring up because there was like a bunch of like indie books that have come out and like had like poor adaptations. I think one of the like the worst possible like terrible movie, terrible adaptation. The Spirit. Will Eisner's The Spirit.
Yeah,
I
I forgot
wanted to
about that.
watch it.
Samuel Jackson.
I was really
Eva
excited because
Mendes.
Frank Miller was directing that.
Yeah, Frank Miller directed
Yeah,
it. There
I
was
was
like a lot
excited
of
for
people
that.
attached to that project.
Yeah, that was
a lot of
that
people
movie.
because it was like right after Sin City, right?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really exciting, and that movie is so bad. And it's just like, hey, we're trying to be Sin City. It's just like, so this isn't The Spirit either, right? Like,
I've yet to
oh
watch
my
it.
God. An honorable mention on my list because it's a really good adaptation in every way except for every possible way that matters. Kick-Ass.
Yes.
Did you guys read that comic?
I
have
haven't read
not.
the comic. I enjoyed the first movie, but really hated the second one.
I
So
was reading
how concerned would you be if I spoiled something
Oh, not at all.
on Kick-Ass, the comic book?
No,
So the
nothing
big,
at all.
so you know this, right? Like the big difference between
Yeah.
the comic and the movie.
Spoiler alert for people listening.
Yeah, whoever hasn't seen Kick-Ass, it's been like goddamn 11 years. Get wrecked.
Skip like 2 minutes ahead.
Yeah, no,
You
I
might
don't
be
give a
done.
shit. Just listen to me be angry about this movie because it's a sweet adaptation, and they do so much good things right. And they take stuff like word for word from the comic, like some of the really good adaptations on my list where I'm like, that's great, like shot for shot. Like some of the stuff about the comic that I really love, they put in the movie. And then the most important part of the entire comic book, they fucking do the exact opposite thing. And it's the most soul-crushing thing like that you could possibly change about it. So in the movie, because this is what the one that you guys know,
Yeah.
at the very end, right, after faking, I'm gay, to be best friends with his crush, right? He tells her that he's been faking it. He tells her he's been kick-ass and that he's here to save her, right? And it all works out. And he gets the girl and she smooches them and credits roll, the end. Everybody gets laid. We're all happy. A comedy happened. It was a good time. I saw that movie and I was like, I don't understand why people didn't like this movie that much. And then I came into work and I bought the graphic novel and I went home and read it and I got to the end and I was like, that movie is a goddamn abomination. Because in the comic book, and I think this is the way more realistic circumstance, after pretending to be gay, to fake be gay, which is like crazy offensive, to be someone's best friend, to try and get into a girl's pants, which is insane and stalkery and crazy offensive. Like, he gets the girl? No. In no universe does he get the girl. In the comic book, she kicks him in the nuts, calls him a creep, and fucking leaves. And he doesn't get the girl at all. And the whole consolation and the whole point is that, like, hey, man, it's okay because it's realistic. And it doesn't matter because I'm a goddamn superhero. I made myself a real-life superhero. And that's the end of the series, is that he doesn't get the girl, but it literally says, it's okay, I'm kick-ass.
It's like Wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, you took like the whole point of the movie and you were just like, oh, let's just take out the moral of the story, right? Mm-hmm. And like that to me was like a big kick in the crotch because it's like the really like character building part. It's funny because he gets like totally freaking blindsided, right? Because you're like, the hero gets the girl, right? But it's bullshit, you know what I mean? I thought it was really realistic, especially for like a comic book that's supposed to be realistic. So that one like kind of like it really touched a nerve with me because I was like, man, this should be a thing. And it really... like they really twisted that part. Also, the other part is like the whole like the other really important part that they changed was Hit Girl's like origin or whatever. Like the whole Big Daddy telling her like, hey, you know what I mean? Like we're you know what I mean? Somebody killed our family and blah blah blah. Right? That is bullshit. Turns out to be absolute bullshit. He made it up because it was a cool superhero origin. And the whole twist is that like he is just like the older, better version of Kick-Ass. He just did it first. So what happened is her mom died when they were really young, and he took his really, really expensive comic book collection and bought a ton of training and guns and stashes and stuff, and has been like traveling around selling these like, you know, Spider-Man #1s at Fantasy 15s to pay for this, to try and be a superhero. And that was the whole thing, is that like, hey, you know what I mean, like these comic books, you know, these superhero tropes are kind of bullshit, right? Just go be a superhero, right? That was kind of the cool, badass, empowering thing about Kick-Ass. It was like, yeah, go out there and get the shit kicked out of you, but go do something, right? Like, it was like part of the whole fun was that like, hey, no, but and none of it mattered because at the end they still won and they were still superheroes and fuck them, right? So it felt like the whole point of the thing was just like savaged afterwards. I just lost all love for it, you know what I mean? Which was like so sad because I really enjoyed that movie beforehand.
Yeah, I kind of like Wanted as a movie too until I read the comic book.
I haven't read the books, but yeah, I liked.
Wanted, like, pretty changed. Okay movie, not a good adaptation.
No,
yeah,
no,
very bad adaptation.
Nothing is the same.
It does have Angelina Jolie in it though.
Yeah, it's also got James McAvoy, and I like him, but, you know what I mean, it doesn't make up for a bad movie, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, who said I went there for the movie?
Will's there like, hey, if you guys make out, this is working for me.
And awesome, stupid gun physics. You got me.
Yeah, that's fair. Hey, the gun physics stuff is, like, pretty fun in the comics. There's some, like, really cool art and, like, how they depict, like, the trick shots and stuff. I think that's, like, a hard thing to do.
Oh, and Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman was in there.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Like
the voice of God was in it.
Okay, well, I've been, like, screaming about, like, things that, like, enrage me about comic adaptation movies, so let's talk about, like, the ones that, like, did things, like, really well. I think, unless anybody's got, like, a last shout-out for a really bad adaptation they want to throw on the table. No. Just a quick one. Both Frank Miller sequels, so Rise of the Empire and A Dame to Kill For, absolute meh. Sequels of, like, pretty solid movies, absolute mehs.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Not fans at all. Also, I'm totally on the side of Will. Anyone who wants to say that Blade is on the bad list can fuck right off. Who wants to start us off on like good adaptations?
See, as Nick spent the most time on it, he should go.
Apparently, this is a cuss cast today, guys, because I'm triggered today. we're getting into it, and that's the way it is.
So.
That's why there's a warning at the beginning. So
exactly.
I'll go with the one superhero movie on my list.
Yeah.
First, Logan. Mostly because it's more of a western than it is a superhero movie.
Yeah.
It's very heartfelt. It is the best movie of the Fox franchise by far, including Deadpool and the others. I find Logan is the most interesting. It has the best performances. Patrick Stewart in it is phenomenal. So is Hugh Jackman. Both, you can tell it's the last movie in the series.
The direction just from those, like, their performances is very good.
And The plot works really well. It's very well paced. It has great action, brutal. It finally does Wolverine justice in terms of the violence. It is better than the graphic novel, but than the comic book. I said that as controversial, but it is a better story. It's not as cool, but it's a better story.
I think you might have just saved yourself there. I would take that. That was like some lip service to me and Sean.
Yeah,
Because
what's
we're both like,
I
all right,
like
Sean, kind of hold me back here.
I like the Old Man Logan storyline. There's amazing moments in it, but as a story, it's kind of all over the place.
I think you're fair in saying that Old Man Logan is cooler than it is good.
Yeah.
Like 100%, because it's one of the coolest comics I've ever read. It's
Yes.
not one of the. It's probably not in the top 5 best comics I've ever read.
It's probably my favorite Marvel comic I've ever read.
Really?
I'm gonna discuss it by you now.
You have
Something
oh, Fantastic Four. Hickman.
No.
Yeah.
He hasn't
No.
read that, I don't think.
I haven't read it yet, but I really like Old Man Logan as a
I'll
comic.
bring it in. I'll lend it to you. I got him at home.
I've got him too.
Oh, okay.
For what they had for like limited for like character ownership and rights, they did Logan really well.
Yeah.
It was exact different story than the books, which is nice. So they
It was
can,
a
like,
good
both.
adaptation. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had the core part of it.
Yeah, but the scene with the spoilers, the scene with when they're at the house and Xavier is like finally kind of being more like lucid,
Yeah.
and then you see the clone come in and he's just like, "I'm sorry, Logan," and he's just,
Oh, dude.
oh,
yeah.
I cried.
I didn't cry until Logan starts fucking up the truck with the shovel. Then I was just like, oh, dude.
What about the last shot? I think that's probably the best last shot.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I had
Where
to.
they turn the crossover to its side and make an X.
Yeah, that's pretty
Like
good.
that's It reminded me of the end of the Death
You like
of Wolverine comic.
Yeah, it's
Where
very
like, Dr.
X-Men.
Cornelius is like, you're nothing except a monster, and you see the flashbacks to him as a teacher, as a friend,
Yeah.
all these things, right? And
Yeah.
he was so much more than that, and that sort of reminded me of that when I saw that movie.
I think that was better than the Death of Wolverine comic
Yes.
book, even. I think that one deserves to be out there for sure because they did the original comic story justice without just copying it, which is why we ruled out the animated straight to DVD release.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's too easy to just remake the exact same thing. You know what I
Crib
mean?
it,
Yeah, we're talking about adapting it, right? Not
Yeah.
just. You know what I mean? All right, well here it is because like that'll work. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The comic stories are sweet. That's why we love them.
Yeah.
That one like really went up there for me. Yeah. Oh man, I really don't know where to start personally because there's lots of really really good ones. Sean, what did you have on your list, man?
My number 5 is Sin City, which is probably the one that got me into comic book reading. Because I remember when that trailer came out, and I rewatched that trailer probably 50 times.
Yeah.
And I bought the comics actually prior to the movie coming out based on those trailers.
I'm gonna say that movie holds up so well still
And it's
too.
probably the most like faithful adaptation I have
Yeah, man.
of
And
any of my stuff, right?
adaptation wise, like a bunch of it word for word, shot for shot,
Yeah.
and like they do like visually. I mean, it holds up so well still
Yes.
because
Yeah.
it was such a groundbreaking shoot at the time. Not just with the black and white, but the way that they did some stuff, like capture some of anybody who hasn't read the comic book. I think it's Frank Miller's best art that he ever did.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
With respect to Dark Knight Returns, I think just his pencils are so good in it, and there's some
Sin City's
scenes where
better
like
looking,
where Marv is in the rain,
Mhm.
and just the way that he draws some of the rain, it's so feels so like thick and heavy
Yeah.
and dreary, and really just like lays into that Sin
And,
City feel.
like, perfectly
And there's a couple
cast,
shots
right?
that just captures it.
Yeah.
Great cast.
Like Mickey Rourke as Marv is
Yeah.
still one of my favorite characters in movies.
Who's not good in that movie too, right? Like everyone's awesome
Yeah.
in that movie. You know what I mean? Like Elijah Wood's great. Like the guy. Oh Jesus, who plays the Bishop again?
Rucker Hauer.
Thank you. Yeah, Rucker Hauer is
Yeah.
really good. I was gonna say James Caan, and I'm like, no, that's Castlevania.
Yeah,
Wrong Bishop.
Powers Booth as the senator, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He was great.
Man, they had a bunch of good people in that show. Like, I really think that
Yeah.
that one is actually on my top 5. That was also my 5. I've actually got. Okay, so, so my list is Weird Science, Howard the Duck, Monkey Bone. No, I'm just kidding. This is the Troll list. I've legit got 2 lists. One of Troll movies that I just think are awesome, and they're just most of them are really bad, and then the good one. And yeah, Sin City was actually also my number 5. It nearly beat out I think Atomic Blonde was close into getting into the conversation.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was
a comic too.
really good adaptation of that story
Yeah.
because they were pretty faithful to it, and it was a dope flick too. Again, well acted, good cast. Will, your tops? Give us your your 5.
Okay, my number 5s, because I had 2 contenders.
Because he's weak and can't cut
Yeah,
things
yeah.
properly.
Can't cut anything out.
Will's got a tally on every
yeah,
page here.
exactly.
Basically,
Sorry. Just before I let you go off. Number 1 on the troll list. TMNT number 2, Secret of the Ooze.
Yes.
I will still argue 2 is pretty good. 3 is really where it gets bad.
then there was Purple Ooze in Power Rangers, but that was a movie.
After 10,000 years, I'm finally free.
My number 5s were Men in Black and Constantine as an honorable mention.
Man, I was so surprised that Men in Black was a comic series when we looked that up. Legit, like something bought by like somebody even smaller. They was so small that they got bought by Malibu Press in the
Something
90s.
small was bought by something small, and then that small
then
thing was
Marvel
bought by something big.
Yeah.
It's like the bigger fish in Star Wars.
The first movie, the first 2 Men in Blacks actually are pretty solid, if we're being honest. I know comedy like sometimes doesn't age well, but I think those ones are pretty good because they're reasonably ageless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd agree with those.
Yeah.
There's nothing that like really ties them to a certain era.
The newest
Yeah.
one is borderline unwatchable though.
Oh man,
That is-
I didn't watch it.
I haven't watched it
It's
yet.
terrible.
It was just like, hey, let's get the Ragnarok,
It's
I guess.
it's like Ghostbusters. I went to go see the new Ghostbusters, not because it was good or bad, just because I love the series so much. I will watch whatever they make to support it.
Yeah.
See, I don't do that because I have standards.
Ew. Got 'em.
Got me.
What else you got for us, Will? That was an easy one. I think everybody was kind of.
My number 4 was Scott Pilgrim with Hellboy being the mention.
Which Hellboy?
The originals.
The originals.
The originals. So you just
gotta
got 3
pick one
movies,
movie
Ty?
here.
You're such a
No,
bastard.
I said the original.
Oh, I thought you said originals.
I heard originals as well.
Yeah, my bad.
Number
I thought-
2 is better.
I thought you had 3 movies on one line here. I was like, God damn it.
Golden Army is better than original.
You think so?
Yeah.
There's parts of the first one that I think the first one is almost a better Hellboy adaptation because I think it fits the tone better. However, I think 2 is probably a better movie.
2 has.
Yeah.
I definitely like the action in number 2, but I do like
Yeah.
the feel of number 1 more.
The pacing in 2 is I think a little better. Like the jokes are good without being too obtrusive. The scene where he's getting drunk with Abe is awesome.
Yeah.
And then the show up the Del Toro creature creation is so hard to pass up. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm down with that guy's movies. He's sweet. So you had Scott Pilgrim number 4.
Yep.
That's interesting. I had Scott Pilgrim actually higher on my list. I had Scott Pilgrim like almost at number 1 on my list. Not just because I love Scott Pilgrim, but because I think it's potentially like the best adaptation. Because there's like a million things. Like literally the only real big differences is that like Scott Pilgrim the books happen over a year. Scott Pilgrim the movie happens over a week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, man, like gag for gag, shot for shot, like word for word sometimes, like all the best stuff. And I think like more than that, it's just like it's an enhancement of the comic book because not only does it have a great cast, like lots of these good
a
ones.
fantastic cast, right?
Oh,
like
man.
imagine buying that cast now.
Yeah, that's you know what I recently watched it with my sister. Shout out before her bachorette party, and we were sitting there being like, oh my god, how many superheroes are in this movie? Right?
Yeah.
How would you pay for
It's like half
Brie
of the
Larson,
MCU,
Chris
Half of the
Evans?
DC people.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, Huntress is in there.
Yeah.
Like, let's go with
Brandon Routh.
Brandon Routh. Yeah, he's 2 different superheroes. You know what I mean? I actually think that, and more than that, the video game sound effects and like the light effects and stuff, like the big fight with the first boyfriend Matthew Patel when they have all the King of Fighter like white effects, like the hit effects and stuff. The continue at the end of the movie, 5, 4, you know what I mean, the countdown, like all that stuff being like legit sourced from things. Edgar Wright's one of my favorite filmmakers. That dude's like awesome, and I think that it does the comic such a great service. I'm so surprised that movie was not received better when it came out.
Yeah, I think they just didn't know how to market it. I don't know what the deal was, but I really enjoyed it. I missed it in the theater too, and I always regretted not seeing it in the theater.
I missed it, and then my buddies went and caught it in a cheap theater one day, and they were like so pumped up that we literally went back the next day and watched it. Because they were like, Mike, this is sweet, you're gonna love this, and I was like, yeah. we're like playing Sega. I'm like, yeah. Like, no, here we go. So actually, Scott Pilgrim was like super high on my list. I think I actually ended up having it at number 2, but I would easily be talked into moving it higher. I just think it's so solid overall. Like, it's very much so like my taste, but still. Nick, you're itching. What do you got, man?
I'll go with my number 2 next, just because I don't care about the order that much.
My man Nick's a rebel.
Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Which one is Snowpiercer?
It's the train.
Chris
Yes.
Evans on the train.
Yeah.
with
Yes.
Yes.
Swinton.
Okay.
I read the comic when it first came into English, I think.
Mhm.
'Cause I think it was originally French or something.
I think it's a French one. Yeah.
It's a weird format as well. I flipped through it at the store. And it's a really good adaptation. It is, and just from a movie standpoint, the pacing in it is fantastic. It is very focused. It has great themes in it, and commentary on just society, kind of, depending on how you look at it. The acting's great. The characters, they don't have like the best character arcs, but you can tell each character immediately, like what their role is.
Yeah.
The action's fantastic. The commentary is great. Those are the main things about it, but it is just checks all the boxes for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that too.
That was a really good movie, actually. I didn't end up reading the comic book, but I don't know, I'm thinking about something completely different. Snowfall, I think the comic book is the cover I'm thinking of. But
Snowfall was good.
Yeah, that was a cool comic book.
Wasn't that like Rucker or whatever's kid's first book?
I don't remember. It was somebody else. But the movie was quite solid. It was, Evans and Swinton. I found Tilda Swinton either like completely awesome and fantastic, or like somehow slightly boring.
Yeah.
And she was awesome and fantastic in that one. It's because she does like some of the artsier, slower movies,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah, Jim Jarmusch stuff that's like paint drying.
yeah, Jim Jarmusch is like both smart and cool and awesome, and also like boring as shit at the same time. So I'm always like really like torn on his movies. It's like, this is great, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I only like Ghost Dog is the only one of his I like, and I've seen a bunch of them.
Yeah, sometimes it's like trying too hard to be a little too artsy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do like how people have connected it to be like the continuation of Willy Wonka for Snowpiercer.
Yeah, I can see that.
That fan theory. How like the conductor is like Charlie
Oh my
after the
God.
world is gone, like into like the brink, and he used all his inventions, and like the kids working on the machine or the Oompa Loompas.
Dude, I love internet fan theories. Some days
So
they're
good.
so insane.
It was Joe Harris who did Snowfall.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're thinking about Joe Hill.
Yeah, Joe Hill.
Yeah, not Joe Harris. Similar name.
Different
Guys.
I was told by someone that it was like a kid of a famous writer or something was doing the art or the story for it or was helping it. Anyways,
They might have been twisted up.
maybe.
What do you have next, Sean?
My number 4 is The Crow from 1994.
Yeah. Who doesn't love The Crow? This is a slam dunk, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good adaptation if you ever read the comic book. Have you?
I haven't. I've had it for 15 years and I've never read it. But this was a movie that I saw when I was a kid, and I probably shouldn't have, but I remember seeing it on like TBS, and it was pretty heavily edited, and I remember getting like the collector's edition VHS when I was like 12. My mom had to come with me to Blockbuster to buy it because it was rated R.
Yeah.
And I watched it every day. And I remember we went to Disneyland for a week in the summer, and I couldn't wait to get home because I wanted to watch The Crow.
Yeah, watch The Crow, man.
Crow every day.
I can only imagine Sean, like full goth Sean. You know what I mean? Like black
It wasn't
hair.
even like that. I don't know. There was just something about that movie. Just
It was very.
Sort of.
It like had that kind of mid '90s to like early 2000s kind of like pseudo goth thing going on. You know, like new metal type vibe. You know what I mean? Very like Blade or like Underworld, like a bunch of the vampire movies at that time. You know what I mean? Like they kind of had that like aesthetic. Matrix a little bit. You know what I mean? They all kind of like rocked a little bit of that. It was
also
like
was
a style, dude.
probably a little bit to do with the baggage that the movie had too, where it was almost like the Brandon Lee death kind of giving it its own extra narrative, right? It's
Yeah.
like you couldn't get past that.
There's some movies like that where you get like that kind of cool.
Well, even The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
Yeah, like The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of a mysticism around that performance.
It's
now,
the
right?
last time you're ever going to see that person kind of
Yeah.
thing, yeah.
Well, and it's, you know what I mean, like great performances, and then they died suddenly, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, man, performance so good they died. Like,
Yeah.
that's-
Someone click-clacked themselves in The Crow.
so the guy who played like the lead, Brandon Lee, right?
Yeah, wasn't it like a blank that did?
It was a
Oh, was it like
It was a dummy round
Phantom
from-
of the
Yeah.
Oprah scenario? Where
It was a dummy round from one of the guns.
Yeah.
Shot him right through the stomach and lodged in his spine.
Yeah.
And he died.
Oh,
with
so-
like 10 days left of filming.
Yeah.
so it is the Phantom of the Opera scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
So basically, like, yeah, like it's kind of messed up.
Yeah,
Accidental
he died
click-clack.
on set.
Yeah, he died on set.
Yeah.
Well, he was taken to emergency.
Yeah,
and
but-
he died within.
There's like
within
rumors that the
hours.
rest of the filming was like weirdly haunted in the release and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one of those cool Hollywood
Cursed films
conspiracy
things,
theories. Yeah,
yeah.
cursed
Oh,
film
like
things.
the original Wizard of Oz, where you can potentially see one of the
Suicide in
yeah,
the
the
back,
hanging
yeah.
in the tree in the
Yeah.
background when they're running down the
Well,
road.
He came with some baggage too, because his dad is Bruce Lee,
Yeah.
right? Who also died at a young age.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like the Lee family curse, right?
Yeah, that's a little next level, man. I also wanted to narrow down some Hellboys, but that was pretty tough. I put, I actually on number 4 on my list, I put Heavy Metal,
Yes.
the animated film, because I both love that movie because it's ridiculous and it's insane and it's over the top, but it's so 10,000% true to the magazine. And I don't even read that magazine faithfully. I'm not even the hugest fan, but I think that as far as like, hey man, if you want to adapt something and put it on the screen, I know it's kind of cheating because here's an animated one, but it was such a weird one, and it was a full theatrical release at least, and it was all new content was the big
Yeah.
thing. Right?
I can't
So,
read the
but
magazines because they're a little bit too much for me.
They really are, yeah.
But the movie was just enough that I could watch it, and apparently,
was
Fifth
a big
Element
thing.
was like loosely based around that one scene with the taxi driver guy.
That's awesome. It was a big thing because when I was a kid growing up, I remember watching it when I definitely shouldn't have. When I was like 10 or like 12 or something like that, right? Like at a friend's place in their basement playing video games. And it was one of those things where it was just like, I didn't know that you could make like adult animated stuff, you know what I mean? Like movies where they would like swear and, you know what I mean? Like the guys are doing like a big pile of friggin' purple space coke flying the ship and, you know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of boobs and crazy stuff. And it's not the best movie of all time, but I think it's so true to the original source material. I kind of just wanted to put it on the list just as a talking point because it was such a thing. But I just think it was deserving of a bit of a shout out. Let's speed it up a little bit. Will, fire away.
On the note of Heavy Metal, first movie to have surround sound in theaters.
Really?
Yep.
Great soundtrack, incidentally. Like, amazing soundtrack. Like, really good stuff if you want to listen to some really fun kind of, like, 80s stuff that's, like, a little cheesy. It really tickles that vibe.
My number 3 was Spider-Verse, and honorable mention for the number 3 spot was Red.
Red was fun. I think that movie, like, gets a little underrated. I think because it is a strong adaptation, but I'm not sure, like, how strong the original comic was, you know what I mean? Because it's a cool idea, and it's fun, but it's one of those, like, miniseries ideas where it's, like, going to be a good time, but you just know it's, you know, that's about it, right? Like, I didn't think there was, like, too much, like, I was surprised they made sequels.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
the sequel wasn't any good.
Yeah. Because it just felt like there wasn't, like, anything left, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of a fun romp for a time. What was the other one that you had tied with Red?
Spider-Verse.
Spider-
Yeah, my
Spider-Verse?
number 3 was Spider-Verse. My mention for number 3 was Red.
I think Spider-Verse is spectacular. I think it's really good. I think the way that they animated it with things out of focus hurts my eyes. And
It was
makes me
definitely a
sick.
movie you had to watch in 3D to get it properly, because there was the issue with the filming, just like how The Hobbit had it, where if you didn't watch it on that special film, it was
48
really
frames per
weird.
second,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same like Blade Runner. You had to watch that in that cool IMAX 3D, or it just did not have the like glorious effects to it that you would in normal
I
SD.
didn't watch it in 3D, and it was still amazing.
Like
Yeah.
as long as it's that,
20.9.
yeah, as long as it's that IMAX special
Yeah.
film and not just regular
Oh, yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
Then it was amazing. But in a regular just TV on like HBO, it was not. It was meh for the graphics.
Yeah. Nick,
I'm debating which one I should do.
go for it.
I'll just do my number 1 because why not?
We're getting a little tight on
Okay,
time. Go
yeah.
ahead and fire them off. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're gonna just start firing them off here. man.
Akira.
Man, you know what? I really debated because I wanted to put Akira on my list, and this is part of why I was thinking, hey, maybe we should cut him because I think the problem is that if we open up Akira because it's so good, and it's such a good adaptation, and it like hits so many of like the levels that I want. Is that then you're going to open the whole thing up to like anime and manga fans are just going to be like, well, what about JoJo's? What about Dragon Ball? What about...
But those are shows.
Yes, but they've also had movies.
Yes, but the movies aren't like the main thing of those.
Like, it wasn't a movie. They're like tie-in, like special hour-long
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, that's fair. No,
Like
but
Ghost in the Shell was a movie.
yeah, that's fair. Ghost in the Shell would like the animated one and the original one.
Even
was
though it
really,
had a
really good
show,
as well.
the Ghost in the Shell movie was a movie.
Like, it was its own thing.
Yeah.
It was a full cinematography, like a full release. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Akira, as you've said, is fantastic, and it's one of the ones that has the most impact.
Yeah.
If you look at it just from the influence it has, so many things can tie back to it. I wrote some down. Stranger Things, the kid psychic.
Yeah.
Looper, again, it's a kid psychic. Ghost in the Shell was inspired by it for the cyberpunk. Battle Angel Alita, Cowboy Bebop, Metal Gear, Final Fantasy VII, all have these elements that come from it. Descender, the comic.
Well, and if you're saying
inspired by it as
7,
well.
then you might as well say like 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah, like
'cause they're
basically
all loosely-
the
all 6, 7,
anime
8.
cyberpunky futuristic-y stuff.
Yeah,
was,
and then-
Akira was a huge player. Same with Battle Angel.
Yeah. And like, Battle Angel came after Akira.
Yeah.
And Akira, just by itself, is one of the things that brought like adult animation into the forefront. Even more so than heavy metal, in my opinion.
By my argument, it's much better than heavy metal. I would
Yeah,
have to say.
but-
Like, I'd way rather watch that movie.
And from like a more pretentious angle, it was very tied into the fears that Japan had at the time. Because post Hiroshima, the rise of like technology and stuff can go too far. Like how far is too far? Because there was still the impact of like the not mutations, but like the radiation poisoning stuff was still going on and being explored. Like how it actually, because cancer was becoming more and more prevalent at the time. So all that tied into the movie and its impact within Japan. And outside of Japan, it was one of the first anime that actually like took traction.
That like nailed.
Yeah.
That landed really hard.
Yeah. And like I think it was like 80 million in home video sales or something like that. Like it was
wow.
an
Still,
insane
yeah.
amount of money
Yeah,
in
it
home
was-
video
it was
sales.
It's one of the biggest things out there.
And then I had something else I was going to say about it. And the quality of animation still holds up fantastic.
I still watch that movie like once a year. At
Yeah,
least.
and like the animation's very different than what it is nowadays. But like I prefer it. Like
But that's pencil drawn animation versus digital drawn animation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Basically, like and
and
with it
cell
comes-
shading and
Yeah.
and like the facial styles and
With
everything
it comes different
Yeah.
styles. Yeah.
And like because of the time, it also it feels more gritty, which is another thing that comes with pencil drawn.
It is very gritty though.
Yeah.
The story too, right?
Yes, yeah, and so many things have copied things from it. Like the bike scene is in
Oh,
so
that's
many
a very
things.
popular one to
Yeah.
copy.
Like I don't know if people even realize it's from Akira anymore. They're just copying it from other movies that were copied it from Akira.
Basically, like every movie that has like a sweet top-down bike chase,
Yeah.
has kind of ripped that off of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Or the bike slide.
oh yeah, the bike slide, yeah. Or if you want to have like bikes chasing bikes throughout like a big highway, like that's basically Akira too.
Yeah.
Like,
As much as I don't like Ready Player One, the bike in that is the Akira bike.
Yep. I clocked that right away. Oh man, talk about like disappointing adaptations. Like if we were doing novels, that would be like on my like worst adaptations because I love that book. It's a great book, and then they
Yeah,
just
I
like
was told it was completely different.
well,
like,
you just and
story-wise.
somebody like put it to me like really well, where it was just like, how do you make that movie, man? Like think about the licensing rights. They did the best they could, and I was like, yeah, that's fair.
for like what the meaning of the film was supposed to be, and like the in-game sort of references is completely different from what the newer
Yeah.
one is, and it's just like reference.
Those references were like the whole like chain of references were like completely different. Like it was a video game movie, and it's basically 80s culture in the book. And like I don't mind any of that stuff. It's when adaptations like take the core of the thing and change it, and they kind of did that a little bit, right? I had just a couple like random honorable mentions and like random like, hey, remember this stuff? Do you guys know that Hercules with the Rock was a comic book adaptation? That's correct. I had no idea. There you go. That's a fun one. Jonah Hex. That's a bad one. That almost made my list of really terrible ones. Megan Fox. Go to hell. You're very bad. Don't appear on my screen anymore, please. Just like retire or something. Shout out to the Kingsman series for being pretty kick-ass in general. I quite liked the first movie. The second one, not bad. I thought The Kitchen was a really good adaptation of that graphic novel. If you guys never read that, it was a cool vertigo series. Yeah. And the movie was quite good, actually. I really enjoyed that. The Losers, mediocre adaptation because they really like new school, like an old war crew. However, the movie's enjoyable. So poor adaptation, solid movie. I just kind of left it off. One that I actually had like at like number 6 or like just as my honorable mentions that I really wanted to bring up. The whole point I was getting to was The Mask, originally a comic book.
Yeah.
Fun movie. Could have been a lot better. And the reason why I left it off is because it's not really that faithful to the original comics. They're a lot more violent.
Which there's a new one.
A lot more over the top.
There's a new one supposed to be coming out that's going to be more grittier and darker, like the comics.
Yeah, so they're doing a series of comics as well, a newer series of comics, and that's just one that I think everybody forgets. The one that I actually wanted to mention that is actually on my list was Road to Perdition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Road to Perdition's great.
Comic book. I always forget that it's a comic book. Really good movie.
Fantastic.
I'll basically verbally blow anything with Paul Newman in it. Like you put him on the screen and I'm there, man. Like
One that I haven't watched but is supposed to be really good is History of Violence.
yeah, History of
I
Violence was solid.
watched it
movie,
and I
yeah.
was kind of mad on it.
It
I
could have
really
been
like that
better.
movie.
It's better than like Eastern Promises if we're talking Viggo
I
Mortensen movies.
agree with
but,
that.
Like it's not my favorite. It's good though. It's real good.
I haven't watched it, so I don't
really
know.
like it,
but
yeah.
I just wanted to mention it because it's not typically considered.
My
comic book one.
yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
My number 1 was Wonder Woman or V for Vendetta.
Wonder Woman or V for Vendetta.
Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
The ending was terrible.
I liked it.
I liked Wonder Woman. You didn't like the end?
No. I don't know.
I didn't like the end either.
What the whole like bang your wrists
Just the
together
whole,
thing?
Like the
They just
twist
got
on the villain was kind of meh.
yeah, it gets
and-
a little generic. Just
Yeah,
watching
and
these.
like the
big punch-ups all the
turns
time.
into like a really unoriginal looking costume. The fight isn't that interesting. It's just like it loses steam as you go. I find.
It's I would argue that it's a good adaptation. I thought it was a really solid movie.
Yeah, it's a solid movie,
I
but
would
it
really
gets
enjoy
worse.
it. The ending, I think, is less good than the start because it starts really, really strong.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard to land that ship.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a respectable choice because it's like a solid adaptation of like what good Wonder Woman comics can be. You know?
Yeah.
I think the walk across the no man's land thing is spectacular.
Yes.
Yeah. That was really cool. All that, anything that was like tied into the war stuff was actually like really well done.
Yeah.
I
It was
thought.
basically Captain America ripoff, but it was Captain America, but it was Wonder Woman instead. So
Yeah, I kind of like the fights.
Two best
I would take the
favorite
fights in
movies.
Wonder Woman over the fights in Cap 1,
Yeah.
for being honest.
I
I think
think-
they're genuinely cooler.
I think
yeah,
that
the story.
Oh, yeah. They're
The-
very
the
similar. Yeah,
similar-
100%.
Yeah,
I'm a sucker for World War One, so I really
Yeah.
like it. But the ending just kills it for me.
Yeah, that's a fair call.
Right.
What else did you have on your number 1?
V for Vendetta.
Yeah, that's a weird one because I actually really enjoyed that movie.
I like it too.
And it's not the worst adaptation. It's pretty faithful, but there's also like that. Like, have you ever read the comic book?
Yeah.
The comic book gets like a little. Like it's Alan Moore. It gets a little rambly.
Yeah.
He gets a little all over the place. And like the kind of crazy and conspiracy nature, like hidden conspiracy nature of that story, right? I find that it gets a little, what's the word? Like wordy. Like the main character is like so loquacious too, so he takes like a million words to say some simple stuff. So I think they're really captured. Like Hugo Weaving's performance goes like a really long way, and actually Natalie Portman good in that movie.
Yes.
I generally like Natalie Portman.
I do too.
I feel like I was shitting on her earlier.
No, it's compared to all the other movies out there that are comic based. There's like fun stuff and so, like although we talk about, I like this because especially with what's going on nowadays in the world, it's a thinker. You go into it, it's heavier. You think it's like.
Man, it is. It does like ring
It's-
like scarily true in 2020.
Yeah, it's
Well, it's in 1984 as well, but that's a book. But
yeah.
not anything in 1984
Yeah.
is.
It's like it's like an old one of those back in the day when you could get a book that could get a bunch of people riled up to do something and they had fear over that. It's kind of like the more darker, more realistic sort of like feel of like English class. So it's just like it has a heavy impact, and so it's like I'm watching all this fun time stuff, then heavy impact, and then go to the fun time stuff again.
Yeah, I think that movie is solid, and I just thought about it. In two of our tops, William Hurt, awesome
Oh,
actor.
yes.
Really good in Snowpiercer,
Yeah.
super good in V for Vendetta,
Yeah.
man. There's a lot of really good actors in that, actually, like Steve French, right, or whatever.
I believe so. I think maybe.
No,
What was it?
no, but yeah, there's very, very well done. Good cast, good shot. I love blowing up St. Paul's Cathedral. Was good effect. I would actually, I think that's a pretty sweet pick because my number one, I definitely caved.
Are
and
we
went,
already
like,
at number
super
one? We
personal.
still have 3, 2, and 1 to
No,
do.
we're just kind of.
I went one because
I know,
felt like it.
There you
We're
go,
just
Sean.
kind of breezing through them. Let's let Sean have
Yeah,
at it for a
rapid fire.
couple. Yeah, man. What
All
do you
right.
got?
Well, my number 3 is The Dark Knight.
Yeah,
That's
I would agree.
I think everyone is like that's the Batman movie. For my money, that's the superhero movie.
Yeah.
If you want to watch a superhero movie, like there's no better adaptation.
They never have all
So,
three on Netflix.
If we're talking about The Dark Knight,
Yeah.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World was going to be my number one, and I totally cheated and caved and put my favorite one, and that's Dark Knight. Dark Knight is number one.
I feel like
I
it's
just think
the
it's
best,
The best.
but
yeah.
the 2 I have above it are ones that I like more.
Hold on, so-
personal preference.
How much you want to bet? Like, what are the odds that Sean's got Watchmen and this is the last 2?
High, but I can also see him being like it's completely different. Like he'll go a different twist, like Old Guard or something.
Like it's not going to happen. So what? Do you want to take this action? I'll bet you a coffee next week. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Deal. All right, Sean. Go ahead.
Watchmen's number 2.
Yes. My dude, winning me coffee.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
That
For
helps for
anyone
you,
who
Sean.
doesn't know, Sean loves Watchmen, and it's I don't know why because it's a really
Shout
bad
out to
comic
Cam.
and movie. Shout out to Cam.
Nobody
He'll
else
back
likes.
us up this.
Nobody else likes Watchmen as a movie.
No one else
Really?
likes the movie or the comic in the world.
I like the
Everyone
comic.
agrees that it's bad.
The comic is great. The movie is meh.
No,
Oh,
I'm,
really?
I'm
Okay.
totally messing with Sean. That's the meme. The Watchmen movie is I think Snyder's best movie
I would agree.
by
with
far.
that.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Not even close. I think it's like you look at that movie and then you look at like literally basically anything else he's done and you're just like, who made this? Like what? Right? Like it's because I think it's actually a really solid adaptation. I think he captures
Yeah.
the feel and the tone and the message of that movie.
I
really
saw
well.
the movie first before the comic, and the funny part was I went with my mom and my stepdad to go see it in theaters when it came out. That was very awkward.
A little
with
bit,
the-
yeah. A lot of sex.
Yeah,
in there.
that's not a great scene, but yeah, like I prefer like the ultimate cut of it, which is almost 4 hours long. Like that's the
Yeah.
one that I watch, and it's not too long for me. Like I
Yeah.
just take more of that if they'd give me more.
It's gripping.
Well,
Yeah.
the movie had less words, where it's just like every panel almost seemed like there was just blocks of text, like an old Spider-Man book.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where like
It's very Alan Moore.
Yeah,
yeah, Alan
Like, it's a
Moore's
book,
very-
not a
you know what I mean, but
book
at
for
the same
some
time, it speaks faster than it reads.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, oh, it's good. I'm just saying, it's like the movie. If I want a fast version of it for funsies, I'll watch the movie. If I want to, like Viva Vendetta, a heavier sit down and read, I'll go the book.
But there's so much good things about like the Watchmen flick that I think Sean's got a point on. Like so many of like the iconic shots that like you'd be worried about from the comic like are just absolutely nailed. You know what I mean?
The Dr. Manhattan like origin stuff is
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, the way that they
Yeah.
shoot that is
Yeah.
so
The music
interestingly
and
done.
everything and
the
the-
music
and the-
throughout, I was going to say,
the
because
watch
even early,
ticking,
yeah,
everything.
and it going back together. I am this hour.
Yes.
It is this date. It
It's-
is this
yeah.
date. You know what I mean? And going back, the acting in it is really good.
I think the only one who's miscast is Ozymandias.
You know
He's
what?
too young.
that might be fair.
Like,
I
I
was
would've
gonna say
gone,
I
like,
really
Jude
like
Law or
Matt
something.
Good in that though, and he had a
he's
good
good.
run of like weirdly like intellectual villainous parts there.
Yeah, yeah. He
In
looks the
2000s.
part. He's just almost a little bit too young. Like it almost needed to be
Mm.
someone 10 years older. Someone a little more. I know he's younger than the others.
Yeah,
other
yeah.
than-
No, but I
So
feel you
effective.
because it's like it feels a little bit more like he's drawn in the comic. He feels a little more
like mid 40s almost, rather than
yeah,
like early
or
30s
like
or something.
like 40 as opposed to 30.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of more the sense, right?
Yeah.
What else did you have here? Like, what's your number one, man? Because I think Watchmen's an easy slam dunk. It's a really good adaptation. The only big change was like the ending. Man,
But that works too.
I actually almost prefer it.
Yeah.
Um,
It makes more
no
sense
shade to
for
Alan Moore, but it's a little easier.
Yeah.
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 The performances, it's actually ironic how good everyone is in that movie because they really like could not land another good part for a while afterwards, right? Like everyone in that flick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And like the guy who plays Rorschach just absolutely slays it, and
Yeah.
then he's like, he's a pretty good Freddy, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then same with like the guy who plays Night Owl, the guy who plays Osterman, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Compared to the did you watch the Watchmen TV show?
yeah.
I much prefer the movie version of Dr. Manhattan. Like the way he's so alien, like his eyes are white. He's
Yeah.
so like the way he speaks and like just sort of monotonely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
He's-
agreed.
Yeah.
The show is like super well done, but the movie I kind of just preferred in general. It
Yeah,
was
Billy
one of my
Crudup
more
did an
favorites.
awesome job on that.
Yeah.
as Manhattan.
Yeah, he was really good. And that's what I mean. Well, Malin Ackerman's even good in that movie. I'm not a big fan of her. You know what I mean? Like, well, maybe she's just like, she hasn't had like a great piece or as good of a piece since. You know what I mean? Like, there's several people in there who just like, man, that was like a good highlight for their career because like Zack Snyder, right? Like,
Yeah.
wow, that was a really weird high spike for your career, man. The rest of it was kind of medium, right?
Yeah.
Anybody else have something hidden on their back burners as far as like real slam dunks on movie adaptations?
Let's see.
My number one probably isn't a slam dunk by your guys's.
What is it?
I was just wondering if anybody wanted to
Man of Steel
interrupt
is
before
totally
Sean
what it is.
nails
It's not
it.
Man of Steel, it's Superman Returns.
Okay.
Is my favorite superhero movie.
Superman Returns
Yeah, I can see
I
that.
love that movie.
I can see that.
with
He's-
Brandon Routh
Yeah.
and
Brandon Routh.
He's my favorite Superman.
He's by far my favorite Superman. He's everything that like the Henry Cavill version isn't. Like the Henry Cavill version is not inspirational or aspirational or any of those things. He's Batman basically with different colors. The Brandon Routh Superman is warm. He's everything that you want that Superman to be.
He's like kind of the nice middle ground between like Reeves and Cavill.
Yeah,
I think Cavill's. We're almost talking about him like the wrestlers, right? Like I think Cavill's got the best look, but Routh's got the best temperament.
I think Cavill would have had the best look if it wasn't all sepia tone. Well, not sepia tone, but that gray
Yeah.
wash
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Scott Snyder always uses. After a couple of his
Yeah, he's
earlier movies,
an
it's just
asshole.
all just sepia tone or
Zack Snyder,
gray.
yes.
Yeah.
Scott Snyder's a very good comic.
Yes, Zack Snyder. Yeah. Scott
Makes
Snyder's
the
amazing.
exact
yeah.
same movie every time
Yeah.
these days. Like it's like 300 never ended for that guy, man. I swear to God.
I had Spawn on my mentions.
Oh, Spawn is a great mention, man. I gotta say that Spawn is both a great and bad adaptation.
I've
at the
been
same
promised
because
a
they
new
do
one.
so many good things and so many bad things in that one. Michael Jai White is an awesome Spawn. He was sweet as hell.
I can't imagine the CGI in that having aged well at all.
No,
Not really, but if you're a '90s baby, it's a nice throwback. It's a good bit of nostalgia for sure.
but there's
I'm
supposed
all
to be a
over
new
that.
one being
Even an '80s kid, if you grew
being
up with that.
kickstarted.
Oh man, they've been saying that forever. It's like a new Blade series. I would kill to see a new Blade series.
Well, they
It's not-
go cast him.
did they?
Yeah.
Who's Blade?
The
It's Jamie Foxx, isn't
no,
it?
it's not. He was one of the villains in Daredevil. I think they recast as maybe like Cottonmouth. I think.
Oh, like Marshall Ali.
Yeah, him.
Really?
Yeah.
Marshall Ali.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That'd be cool.
That's cool.
I'd be down for that. That'd be sick, man. That'd be a big
I
get.
thought he
That
was
dude
already-
wins Oscars. I
Yeah.
mean,
No, that's
plural.
Blade.
Like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Oh, I remember them announcing
Yeah.
that.
That's awesome. I'm all over that. Okay, I'm excited for that. New number one, Blade friggin' Ali
Ghost-
return.
Ghost-
Let's go.
Ghost
I
of
haven't
Pearl
seen
Harbor.
Superman Returns in a really long time. I should really rewatch it.
I watch it quite often. I really like it. I like the pacing of it. I like how like the average shot length is probably quite a bit longer than most superhero movies.
Yeah.
Like it's got sort of a languid pace to it. It's a little easier going. I like that he's not fighting a monster. I know a lot of people complain that it wasn't a very action-heavy movie, and I actually prefer that.
Yeah, I think there was like, I think part of the complaint was that you had Superman in the modern era, and you wanted to see Superman do cool stuff. And part of that is that you didn't exactly get Superman doing cool stuff until like basically the end of the movie. You know what I mean?
No, I like him wrestling with the things he wrestles with in that movie, right? Like he's sort of he comes back to a world that he feels doesn't need him anymore.
I think Spacey's like pretty medium. Like it's like not his best performance.
I like his
by
take
my
on it.
books.
It's a lighter kind of take, right, than the most of the comic villains. He's a little.
That's a fair call. I don't think anybody's like put my problem is I don't think anybody's put in a great Luthor on screen for me. And I think Luthor is one of my favorite villains. I think he's really, really good, and I think he's hard to play.
Controversial statement. I did like the Jesse Eisenberg Luthor.
I liked that take. I thought it was an interesting modern take. The problem that I had is that he didn't do anything very good. So you don't put him over as a villain.
Yeah.
They needed to have him have the robot or build or like come out in the suit or do something that like put him over as like this guy's a threat. Because if you're gonna do like the modern startup jerk
he
tech
comes across
genius
more as a
guy
con
that-
man than he does as like a guy with an IQ of 240, right? In the movies, he's a little more like
Yeah, but I like that.
Yeah,
it's
it's a
less-
different take. It was
yeah.
cool. I dug that too, but I think that they didn't land it well. It started well at the start of the movie because I was like, because it's so different, you can kind of get over it quickly. You're like, all right, here, let's go something else, and then you know what I mean, boom. It's kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
Nick, do you have any honorable mentions left?
Like Dread is fantastic.
Yeah. The Raid's better.
Yes.
that's the thing.
Good port,
It came
though.
out the same year.
Good
and so-
port.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
It's
Dread
good
is
skin for the Raid.
yes, but Dread has my favorite use of slow motion.
Yeah, that's fair. And like some of the 3D, like the bullshit 3D
Yeah.
shots, like the
Yeah.
things coming at
It's great for its gimmicks as
good
well
concept.
as like its story is fine.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
I'm a sucker for Carl Urban whooping people's ass.
Yeah, and he it's my favorite actor that was willing to have his face covered.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd make a good Batman.
Yeah.
Actually, if they
Yeah.
gave him
He
a shot.
wouldn't care,
Yeah,
yeah.
he would have made a good like Batman versus Superman Batman. Actually,
That would have been cool.
like the grizzled older.
I feel bad for Affleck because he was a fine Batman.
I liked
But
him too.
But like the movies, it's Daredevil all over again. He's the best part of medium to bad movies. You know what I mean? Like, well, maybe not the best part, but like he's totally solid in it.
Yeah.
And everybody's just like, that sucked. He sucks. And it's like, well, come on, man. Poor Affleck.
I like how they made him bigger. Like he got huge and ripped for it, and then they
Why'd
gave
they
hut a
put the
padded
suit on
suit.
him? He was so jacked, dude.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That dude could have crushed me. I don't think I had any other special shout outs. We kind of went through like a lot of them. If you guys had anything that we missed that was really obvious, send us some comments, send us some emails. I had fun talking about this one because there's a lot of movies to get into and think about and talk about. I know we missed some. I know the troll list was really waiting for us to get right into the meat of Howard the Duck and Monkey Bone, and I'm sorry that we didn't do that this week, guys.
Those are just way too obvious.
Yeah,
in
maybe
another
next time.
that's another conversation.
That's like on the opposite. Those are like among the Catwoman's on the other
Yeah.
side. That's like the Dark Knight Returns. We didn't have to talk about that long because everyone knows they were so good.
Do you know who the true and best hero movie is of all time? Those who give us 5 stars on iTunes and Google. Yes.
Yeah, give us a good rate. You guys are the 2002 mummy of listeners.
The higher the ratings, the more we can get
You're-
front place.
Hopefully you're on all the time, and I love you anyways. It doesn't matter. Thanks, Nick, for coming,
Yeah.
as always. You'll be here next time.
Depending on the topic. But
I'll feed you some Coke or something. I don't know. Like, we'll get you some snacks, and you'll be back.
Stackos.
He'll just like wake up amongst a stack of books back there, and we'll start
He
recording.
just like digs out of
Yeah, it'll like
piles.
fall off of him, and there's Nick. Like, oh hey, let's go. Thanks for coming, Sean. Man. I was
Yeah,
happy
thanks
to have
for
you
having
on.
me.
No, it was
It was
fun,
great.
man. It was a good time to do this one. Will, I guess I'll see you at work. I mean,
Yeah.
it was fine seeing you too.
No,
No, thanks for coming off. You got anything last to say to the good people?
No, we just got to get Cam on.
Yeah, we'll get Cammy in here to make fun of Sean or make fun of Watchmen to try and trigger Sean with this. Maybe the problem is that that's poor content because it's just us clobbering Sean
But it's
for
like
an hour and a half.
it's audio clickbait. It's like it's 101.
Yeah, that's a fair call. All right, we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Because you can't technically watch all the time on a cast. I had a great time. I'm Mike. This is Pulled from the Shelf Comic Podcast, Collector Talk Podcast. Excuse me. And we did movie adaptations of comics today. It was a great time. Have a great one, guys. Good night.
Yeah. Be safe. Bye bye.